Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Veronica. For today's video, we have something very different. We have a Veronica rant. I love these because I tend to post these more on like my private page, you know, because sometimes we want to say things that maybe not everyone might agree with, but this is a rant that I wanted to kind of share with you guys. So before we get into it, make sure you guys like this video, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're aware of all future videos. Okay, before I get into my rant, I wanted to let you guys know that my pre-order is still going on. It's going to end on Tuesday. It was initially supposed to end tomorrow, but it will be ending on Tuesday, 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. So if you guys have not checked it out, make sure you do. My last video is a review of just all the new scents that came out for this pre-order. But yeah, check it out if you guys have not. And without further ado, let's get into the Veronica rant. I don't know what to call it, but basically sometimes I like to talk about certain things that I think people need to know about. I'm actually thinking of posting this also on my TikTok page. I don't really use TikTok too often, but when I do, it's either, I don't know, something that I feel people need to know about, or it's usually to do with my business, but I usually stick to Instagram for that. I don't know, I prefer Instagram over TikTok. I love going on TikTok to look at information, so maybe that's why I kind of want to post this. But do you guys like Instagram or TikTok more? What do you use more? I don't know. I just love my Instagram. I'm an Instagram girly. Anyways, okay, so let's get into it. Also, don't mind the background. It's a little bit messy. It's a little bit dark. It's very gloomy these days. It's cold weather. Is it cold where you guys are? Because it's definitely cold where I am, and I know some places have been getting hit up with some storms and cold, ice, freezing weather, -40s, crazy weather. It's just been insane. Anyways, so as you guys can see by the title of my video, I don't want to necessarily call out specific companies because I feel like this is something that is covered by a lot of companies, or that happens with a lot of companies. But I kind of had a reminder this week, or actually last week it started, of the issues that you can kind of run into as a Canadian who is ordering from the States. So I've spoken about this time and time again, how we basically us Canadians get the shit end of the stick when it comes to ordering anything from the States. And for them, it's totally like an easy breezy shipping experience, ordering experience when they get things, because they don't get hit with things like we do. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I had not heard a complaint about anything from that side. But in Canada, it's very frustrating. So I dealt with this whole issue. So let me begin at the start of the story. So last week, I ordered something from a company for my business, and they officially started shipping to Canada. So I'm like, oh my God, it's a small package. Let me make this order. So I ordered it. It came from Florida. It arrived. Of course it arrived. But then I forgot that there's all these extra fees that come with ordering things from the States. And I've actually been using I don't know what to call it exactly. I guess like a cross-border shipping service. Yeah, cross-border shipping service that has been wonderful. And I didn't use it just because I'm like, oh, this is a small, you know, order that I'm making, so I'm not going to bother with that. Also for this cross-border shipping service, I'll talk about that in another video because I do think it's something you guys would probably love to use as Canadians. We need to help each other out, okay? So anyway, so I ordered this item from Florida. It arrived last week. It was pretty quick. It arrived fairly quickly. And then, you know, I wasn't home. I work in the evening, so half the time anyone wants to deliver anything, I'm never home, okay? So I get home and I see this paper. Actually, let me get the paper. Wait, do I have the paper? I think I might have thrown it out. Actually, never mind. I threw out the paper because I don't need it anymore, but I did save one of the papers. So basically I was being charged $16, $16.50 for taxes, which is understandable. We have to pay taxes. I get it. But then I was being charged $53 for brokerage fees, which in my mind, I'm like, this isn't even worth the order that I made at this point, because my order was about $130 Canadian, about 95 US, and that was with like $17 of shipping, $17 US of shipping. So I'm like, whatever, it's not a big deal. There was a sale happening, so I'm like, okay, it's worth it. But then you get this paper from the courier, and it's basically $16.50 for taxes, but then I have to pay $53 to receive it, or for them to basically like release it for me. And I wasn't home, so I'm kind of glad that I got the papers. I looked over it. I'm like, there has to be a way to not pay these brokerage fees. And I'm not very familiar with the whole system and how it works, and if there was even a way of not having to pay for it, just because I've been using this cross-border shipping until now. So I'm like, there has to be a way to not pay for these brokerage fees, because to me, I'm like, $53 for brokerage fees. It just does not make it worth it anymore. Anyways, so I went on Reddit. Reddit is a very popular place where you can ask all sorts of questions. It's where I got started when I wanted to get a dog and I wanted to, you know, just know more things about getting a puppy. They just have so many different topics on there. So I decided to go into the UPS group, and also there was one called Ask TO for Toronto. So I went in there and I basically said, is there a way I can avoid paying for these brokerage fees? And the amount of responses I got were incredible. They were so helpful. And there is a way for you to avoid paying for the brokerage fees. So I had, I don't even have his name, but I don't even think it matters right now because it's not even his name on Reddit. A lot of people just put something random so you don't know who it is. Not like you would even know. But anyways, so he gave me an exact order of what to do, okay? Rules, basically, to follow by. So what I did was I contacted the company, and legally they have to provide you with the papers that you're asking for. So all I did was I sent an email to the company and I said I would like my self-clearance forms to release the product myself. I'd like to self-clear my own shipment. And I'm like, you could do that? You can self-clear, self-declare, whatever you want to call it, your own order. So I sent them an email and I'm like, I'd like these forms because I want to do it myself. Took maybe 5 days for them to respond back, and they're like, oh, we don't have the papers. Where most of the people in the Reddit forum, they were like, we got the papers right away. But for me, it was a little different story. They didn't have the papers. They had to contact the custom border in order to get these papers. So basically I needed the customs invoice to be able to declare, or to self-clear it myself. And yeah, so then I sent them they said that they needed to get the papers, so then they would get back to me. So 5 days goes by, I still don't get it. So I emailed them back and I'm like, hey, where are my papers? Like, I'm waiting for them. I want to get my package. And they're like, oh, it actually went to this email. And I'm like, okay, so I need to contact this email to get the papers. Why couldn't they have just sent it to me 5 days ago if they had already received it? Anyways, I almost feel like they just didn't want to give me the papers so that they would get, you know, me to pay for the brokerage fees. So I'm like, oh, at this point, it kind of felt a little daunting, and I'm like, ugh, am I gonna end up having to just pay for these brokerage fees because I don't want to deal with this? But I'm like, no, you need to figure this out so that if you can figure out what to do, you can make a video about it and tell other Canadians who are not informed. So I emailed them, and literally 2 minutes later, the girl sends me an email with the papers that I needed. So one of them is basically a reference letter, which I do believe I have. So they sent me an email, and the email basically had all the information that I needed. So all I had to really do was take these papers to a CBSA office, which has to be an inland office. I had a really hard time finding where it was exactly because I'm just not familiar. But yeah, so basically she sent me these two documents. So this was just like a referral form on all the steps that I had to do in order for this to happen. And then my customs invoice was here. So I had to bring both of these. And then I also had to bring the invoice for my actual order so that when I would get there, they can see what's in this order. Right, so then I had to take these 3 papers to it's called Canada Border Services Agency. I didn't know where it was located. I was getting very confused when I would go online trying to figure it out. At first I thought I had to go to the airport, but it wasn't the airport. It was just basically behind the airport. It's in like the industrial area, and the address I can tell you is 2720 Britannia Road, so that's where you would go to do this. So yeah, so I brought my referral form here, I brought my customs invoice, and then I brought my regular invoice so they could see the products that were in the invoice that I ordered. So I get there, oh my god, I went after work. I didn't realize it was also open 24 hours a day. I mean, it makes sense, it's part of the airport, duh. Yeah, so I got there and I felt so silly and so weird. First of all, I drove after work, so it was really late at night. I think I got there around 11 p.m. and this road was scary as shit. Honestly, it was so dark, it was so dreary. It was like there was nothing around there, and I'm just like, this feels like a horror movie. I hope nothing bad happens. Anyways, so then like I get to this part where there's what are they called? Those like little booths where you usually drive by and then you have to pay something. And I thought somebody was in there, but nobody was in there, which made it even more scary. I don't know. It was a little intimidating driving through there in the dark. Okay, it was a little scary. And then I saw signs of like deers, and I'm like, really, deers? Okay, anyways. So I finally get to the place and I'm like, okay, this is pretty big. Hopefully I walk in through the right doors, because it was dark, there was nobody around. I made my way in safely, and it was actually pretty easy to get to. I get to the guy and he's basically telling me how many people go there to self-clear items, especially like Jordans and Nikes, or like those like those limited edition runners from the States, and like Yeezys, I can't even say it, and things like that. So I mean, it makes sense, especially if people are ordering like large quantities of that. But for me, I'm like, it was only $53. And it was such a small order that it made it seem silly. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't want to pay for that. So yeah, so he goes through everything and he just asks, you know, what the items are. I'm like, they're fragrance oils. Then I go to the next guy, and basically I paid my $16.50, okay? And all he did was he wrote up this, it's called, technically, it's a receipt, but the government hasn't really changed the legal name for it, which is B15. And it basically looks something like this. It's just blue. And they end up just stamping it at the very, very bottom. So it'll say that it's already been paid. And this is the stamp. It's very important that you get this B15 form, the receipt, with this stamp. And then you want to make sure that your tracking number for this order is at the very top over here, because that's the only way to clear it. So I get this paper and I'm like, oh my god, this is great. I had a little chat with the guy who helped me, and he's like, you know, you kind of have to put yourself in the other person's shoes. Like, as a business, would you be telling other people, you know, hey, you can come here and not have to pay a brokerage fee instead of coming to us and, you know, spending money on us for the brokerage fee, right? Like, they're not going to be promoting, hey, go to the CBSA office and you don't have to pay for it, because obviously they want to get paid. They want their brokerage fee. But for me, I'm like, as a small business and for the size of the order that I got, it just wasn't worth it. And then you also have to think about it. Is this inland office close to you? Is it far from you? Because if you're going to spend as much money on gas as you are, you know, paying for it, you might as well just pay for it type of thing, which I get, but I'm literally like 15-minute drive from this place. So it was very easy for me to get to, and it's nice to know. So yeah, so then I got this paper, I sent the paper in to the girl that I was speaking to, and literally that day I got my order. It was released because they were holding it, obviously. It felt like they were holding it hostage. And it was the smallest order. Like, when I look at it, I'm like, are you kidding me? I waited all this time to get this order because of that. So now I know never to order something directly from the States. I mean, unless it's something big and like I'm okay going to the CBSA office. but I would rather just avoid it. If I can avoid it at all costs, I'm gonna do that, because I don't want to waste my time going there. But am I happy that I did it? Yes. Am I happy that I saved $53 from brokerage fees? Yes. Like, I only had to pay $16 from this order versus paying almost $70 for it, right? So I just feel like this is something that, you know, a lot of Canadians probably don't know about, and they're spending, you know, they're paying these brokerage fees without realizing that you can actually self-clear it yourself, which is an amazing thing. So I felt like I had to do my, you know, I had to do my due diligence, make sure that I went through all the steps and that, you know, I got the outcome that I ended up wanting. It took a little bit of, you know, pulling teeth and, you know, sending emails and all that stuff. It took me like, what, 5 days about? But overall it happened, and I'm happy that I did it, and I'm happy to be able to share it with you guys, just in case you do get something and you don't want to use a cross-border shipping service, which I do recommend, and I will talk about that in another video. But it's just, shipping to Canada is crazy, and I feel like if we can save money where we can, then it's going to be very, very helpful, especially with, you know, today's economy and how expensive things are. I just felt like I kind of just, I owed it to, you know, the Canadians, you know, that want to save money and are just not aware of it. If there are ways that I can help my fellow Canadians, then I will do it. So I'm definitely glad I was able to film this for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video nonetheless. Even if it didn't pertain to you, at least now you know, right? So I hope that this video does cross a few people's paths that may be looking for this kind of information. Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to all my social media platforms, which I will link down below. And if you guys are interested in shopping anything scent related, wax melts, check out my website meltingmemories.ca, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.